Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video, I'll be sharing a new mission with you. It's time for a wave attack, where we'll see hordes of Tyranids going up against an Imperial army as they defend the base in this 40k mission. This is a super fun narrative mission to play with 40k. You can use any size army from 500 points upwards if you wanted to, but ideally you want to go with 1,000 or 2,000 points for this mission. And if you're interested in getting hold of a copy of this, it's free to all my Patreon members, and there's a link in the description below. I'd finished painting all of my Catachans, so I wanted to have a go at facing off against some Tyranids in a crazy mission where waves of Tyranids attack a base and the Catachans have to defend themselves. A big thanks to Liam, who came along, brought his Tyranids with him, and we had an epic battle on the tabletop. It was great fun. We played a 1,000-point battle. But there were more points to that for the Tyranids, as you'll see as we work through the mission. So let's break it down and we'll have a look at exactly what's involved in this 2-page narrative mission. Before we do that though, thanks so much to everyone who's joined the Patreon. We're on a mission to get it to 100 members, and as soon as it does do that, I'll start doing narrative battle reports here on the channel for Kill Team, Warhammer 40k and Warcry as well, and there'll be loads of extra perks. And I've put up an early perk already, so any members now and from now on will be able to name a trooper or Tyranid who will feature in the battle reports to come. Right, let's have a look at the mission. So this is mission 2, the second one I've done in this new series for my Patreon members, and this is Defend the Base. And first up, you'll get a briefing, and the briefing will explain the scenario and set the scene for the battle ahead. And for this mission, a jungle patrol has been ambushed by a Tyranid force. A troop unit and their commander have abandoned their damaged vehicle and must return to the base to warn their fellow troops. The Tyranid attackers are pursuing the patrol, determined to cut off their escape before they can reach the base. The defenders must get to the base, raise the alarm, close the gates if they can, and then survive 5 or more rounds to send a signal to HQ. The rules for this mission are pretty simple. First up, 1 player is the attacker and 1 player is the defender. The defender will start with 1,000 or 2,000 points. From those points, the defender must set up 2 of their units, 1 troop and 1 character unit, in the central deployment zone. At the start of each round, the attackers will roll once on the troop table and once on the boss table. If it's a 2,000 point game, then they roll twice on each one. These rolls will randomly determine the units and models that join the battle each round, and these models can act as normal, so it's not like a deep strike. As soon as they can join in, they can move and do all the other things like attacking and shooting, things like that. The defenders will be able to spend 1 action to close the gates, and attackers can attack the gate once it's closed as if it's a unit, and I've included a gate data sheet which you'll see in a moment. The idea of the game is to see how many rounds the defenders can survive before the control centre is overrun. Here's the troop table that I produced, and so the idea here is in round 1 you'll roll a d6, and on a 1 it'll be 10 Hormigans, or a 2 or 3 the same, but a 4, 5 or 6 you'll get 10 Termagants. Each round will be different, giving you progressively more difficult Tyranids to do battle against. Now if you don't have all these models, you don't have to use this table. You could come up with your own idea and use the models you've got. You could even use a different army altogether. It doesn't really have to be Tyranids, but I think the theme suits it really well. If you base it on the idea that you're going to bring in maybe 200 to 300 points each round, I think you'll be bang on, and I think it'll be really good fun. Next up is the boss table, and the same thing applies. You'll roll once for 1,000 points, twice for a 2,000 point game, and then you'll bring in round 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 different HQ, elites and heavy supports, and the idea in some of the rounds is they'll get a little bit stronger, or they'll be quicker or winged so they can fly and cover the ground quicker. So they'll keep deploying in the deployment zone and then have to keep advancing. So once you start getting to round 3 or 4, it's going to get pretty tough if you haven't killed all the Tyranids that have come on in the previous rounds. I chose to keep the terrain really simple, and we worked together to just discuss some different ideas about terrain as we went, and so it's really great to have Liam's help to play through and play test this to make sure it worked for you, so when you're ready to play it. So the terrain features are basically light cover for the trees and the base buildings, and also that abandoned tank in the middle of the battlefield. After playing the battle, I thought it'd be good to use the heavy cover rule for the base barricade, so at least the Catachans would have got some advantages to any close combat attacks while that gate is closed and they're behind the barricades. But what we did do is if any of the Tyranids were to go over the barricades or climb over the gate, it was a -3 to their movement. Although I included some vehicles, I didn't go for big heavy tanks. I went mostly troops and just some supporting units, which I thought really fit in with the environment. But once those big monsters came in, that's when it certainly got a lot tougher. And a lot more fun as well. It's really cool as the big ones started to arrive. Here's the action that the defenders can use. So this is close the gate, one action, and then once they've done it, the gate shuts, and now that gate also provides heavy cover, just like the barricade. So nice and simple. In our game, a Broodlord managed to get in before I could close the gate, but Sergeant Harker held him up so some of the other troops could get in and do the job. Once that gate is closed, the Tyranids can choose to attack it, and here's the gate datasheet. So I've made it quite tough, toughness 7, it's only got 6 wounds, but it's saving on a 5+. So it's going to take a little while for them to break it down, maybe with some of the bigger Tyranids. But the little ones, I think that -3 movement is a little bit of a hampering mechanism, but they're still going to get over it pretty easily. And once the flying ones come in, they don't even need to worry about that. But it's really fun narratively to break that gate down. It was really cool. For this mission, there's one objective, and that's the end game objective. So we didn't play any secondaries or anything like you find in match play. We just kept it really simple. The idea of the game is that the attackers win if they can make it to the 5th round, and you may continue to play on for further rounds after that if you want to. And the defenders win if they control the objective marker at the end of round 5. Here's the battle map. This is the second page, page 2 of the mission pack. So there's only 2 pages in it, that's all you need. And you can see in the map at the bottom of the page, in the top right, is the objective marker. There's one objective, and the Tyranids have to make their way right across the battlefield from the trees, get through the gate, take on all the defending force, and then finally get to that building with the satellite on there. And then if the Tyranids can hold and control that objective, they've destroyed the satellite. Here's a close-up look at that battle map. So this map will work for any size, 44 by 30 or 44 by 60 or 44 by 90, depending on the size. You've got the deployment zones in red and blue. So defenders are going to go and deploy in blue, and the attackers, the Tyranids, will deploy in the red zone, and then just the one objective marker. Here's an example of how I would set the terrain up, and I include that in the mission pack. A serving suggestion, if you like, especially for Tyranid players. And so here we go. You can see you've got the trees there, giving that light cover. You've got that abandoned tank. You've got the barricades and the gate, and then the main buildings of the base itself. We played on the 44 by 30 inch board, and it worked really great. Using this layout was really good. There was certainly enough cover, light cover, for the Tyranids to advance in stages. And then once they did get to the barricade and break down the gate, the carnage really began and started pushing forward the big vehicles, and then the troops were held back, and then eventually the Tyranids pushed through all the different terrain sections and managed to get to the troops at the end. There we go, that's an overview of the mission that's available to all my Patreon members now. It went up yesterday, so if you're a Patreon member, it's already there, and it's for all levels. So right from the lowest price point up to the highest, everyone will get full access to this. I really love these narrative style missions. It's great fun. You know, you're still playing by the rules, but you're not having to worry about all the different mission objectives, primaries, secondaries, that kind of thing. You can really play into the story, and having all the different waves of different Tyranids coming towards the Catachans was really great fun as a player, and I think Liam had fun as a Tyranid player too. He was choosing which monsters came in. We didn't use the table in our game, but he was choosing which ones he felt would be appropriate, and then I used his knowledge of the Tyranids to then develop those tables afterwards. So you could certainly do that as well. You don't have to stick to those tables. Use the different units and the different models that you want and make it as fun as you can make it for your game using what you and your friends already have. I've got to say, I really like playing against the Tyranids, and there was some great things going on, especially when the big Carnifexes were coming in, old One Eye as well, and then Sly Marbo was just doing all sorts of crazy things across the battlefield. He didn't last very long though. He decided to charge one of the Carnifexes and got taken out pretty quickly. But all up, a really fun game, and I can highly recommend giving this a go. That's Mission 2. You can also find Mission 1 on the Patreon page as well. Extraction Point, that was a great fun mission to play as well. Involved a river and some bridges, so really cool. If you'd like to check that out, there's a link down in the description below. The next mission I'll be putting up on the Patreon will be a kill team mission. So really looking forward to that, and I'll be sharing that very soon. So look out for that on the Patreon page. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have fun if you give this mission a go. Thanks again. If you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I look forward to seeing you here next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games.